Hello and welcome to another video from Advapay. My name is Ihor, I'm a Managing Director of Advapay Canada.
And my name is Anastasia, and I'm the Head of Regulatory Affairs at Advapay Canada.
So in today's video, we'd like to explore two different concepts of MSB registration with Fintech and the PSP registration with the Bank of Canada. We'll talk about the differences, the similarities, and the overlap between these two registrations. So let's start with the MSB registration. It has existed since 2008. Entities that are engaged in so-called money services must register with Fintech, the regulatory body, and be supervised from the perspective of anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. The typical obligations under the Fintech regime are maintaining the comprehensive compliance program, knowing your clients, keeping a risk assessment up to date, having a compliance officer that can supervise your entire compliance program, reporting certain transactions to Fintech, and so on. It's important to note that their mandate is strictly to detect and deter money laundering and terrorist financing in Canada.
On the other hand, PSP registration with the Bank of Canada is a relatively new concept. It only came into effect in 2024, and the first batch of payment service providers was registered in November of 2024. As compared to Fintech, Bank of Canada's mandate is focused on different set of things. In particular, they're interested in the operational soundness of the payment service provider system in Canada and the safeguarding of end-user funds. Ongoing compliance requirements with the Bank of Canada include keeping up-to-date information with the Bank of Canada in regards to the original PSP registration information, submitting incident reports, and annual reports that are due on March 31st of every year. Additionally, there are requirements around the safeguarding of end-user funds, which Bank of Canada has put into place. End-user funds of payment service providers who hold funds have to be segregated from operational funds of the entity and have to be put either in a trust or have to be put in a segregated account with an insurance taken for that account.
In many cases, the MSB registration and the PSP registration are overlapped, meaning that an entity that wants to operate in Canada must obtain both of these registrations prior to commencing operations. What it means in real-life examples, if you want to serve your clients and provide them with services like money transferring, payment services, card payments, acquiring, and so on, basically anything that constitutes an electronic movement of funds, you must get both registrations prior to going live. However, there are some exemptions, and let's talk about them right now. Generally, there is one big exception when the electronic movement of funds is considered incidental to the main activity of a client, and that is crypto exchange or foreign currency exchange. The key factor here is whether an entity allows third-party payments or third-party deposits and withdrawals to perform the foreign currency exchange or cryptocurrency exchange. If third-party payments or third-party movement of fiat funds are allowed and clients are able to either get their accounts funded using third-party funds or withdraw funds to third-party accounts, then the PSP registration is mandatory and it gets automatically triggered. However, if a foreign exchange company or a crypto exchange company decides to only offer first-party deposits or withdrawals for their clients, in this case, the entity may be exempt from the PSP registration. There are also some exotic cases when the PSP registration does not apply. These are crowdfunding platforms, armored car networks, and so on, but we see those very rarely.
From the standpoint of PSP registration, there are also exemptions when it is only PSP registration that is required without the MSB registration. In our practice, those cases are even more rare, than the other way around when MSB registration is required and PSP registration is not. An example of such a case would be a payment facilitator, payment orchestrator who exclusively offers the infrastructure for payment processing and does not actually onboard or handle the funds of end users.
So these were the similarities, the differences, and the overlaps between the two registrations that currently exist in Canada. If you have any more questions on this topic, please feel free to reach out to us. We would be happy to help.